Hello everybody, Bubblezest here, and this is Hearts of Iron 4. In today's video, we're going to be ranking all 5 paths in the fairly large Portuguese focus tree. So, let's get started. Number 5. Strengthen the regime. Now, I've already done a full video about this path, so I'll keep it brief. But to summarise it, the problem with this path is quite simple. Almost everything it has is done better by every other Portuguese path. Like, nationalist intervention is shared between it and the Fifth Empire, and I believe the Fifth Empire uses it much better. Joining the Allies, the democratic tree does that better. Being proudly alone, I believe the monarchist path does it better, and so on and so forth. And, of course, this tree is limited by the fact that it's a non-aligned tree, so you can't go up to extensive and you can't go up to war economy. I know, this isn't this tree's fault, but those things do limit it quite a lot. That being said, however, there are some good things that are unique to this focus tree. The main thing is that by doing appease monarchists and concordat with the Holy See will give you unlimited stability. And that's nothing to laugh about. Unlimited stability, no matter the focus tree, is pretty nice. The thing with this focus tree is that it's just stuck being the historical path. It's a hapless job to have, so I don't necessarily blame it for being underwhelming, but god, it's underwhelming. At the very end of the focus tree, you get war goals on the Soviet Union and Japan. You know, 2 countries that most of the time you will not be defeating without a load of help. This path is kind of a mixed bag. Like I said in its video, it is the worst path Portugal has, but it doesn't mean it's a bad path. It has enough potential where you can probably have a good game, but I would rather play any other path. Number 4. Strict neutrality in the Spanish Civil War. I won't lie to you, I am very biased when it comes to this focus tree. I really like it. And you know why? British industrial investments gives 4 civs. And that did it for me. That's why this focus tree is above Salazar's path. I know it's probably just as limited considering it's a democratic path. However, I think there's more potential for interesting games with the democratic tree, like securing the free world guarantees a load of countries, so you could fight a load of countries with the Allies. Intervention in Spain, that's always pretty fun. I know it's not unique to this path, but it's something I should note. It gives you a free war goal on nationalist Spain, and by extension, a free nationalist puppet, which is fairly nice. It also gives you an achievement, BFF. I know, not the hardest achievement, but an achievement is an achievement. Sure, if I had to point out a downside, it is a very short focus tree. You can realistically finish it within like a year and a half. In fact, I swear you can actually do oppose Germany by like mid-1937 or something, which would be quite fun. And that's the thing, I think this focus tree is fun. And that's why it's at number 4. Number 3. The 5th Portuguese Empire. Let's start off by talking about what I like about this path. First off, the 5th Empire national spirit itself. It gives non-core manpower, supply grace, some other benefits, and most importantly, 20% extra war support. Now, it doesn't give unlimited war support like it used to, but 20% is pretty nice. Then of course, like I said earlier, the Fifth Empire can take advantage of nationalist intervention much more than Salazar can. Remember, when you're playing Salazar, you at the very least can join a faction to get some extra support, but the Fifth Empire doesn't have this. They're completely isolated, so any extra expeditionaries they can get are damn near essential. Now, that's all well and good, but now let's talk about the downsides, and the Fifth Empire does have quite a few downsides. Starting off, Just to do the focus that allows you to flip fascist requires you to have 40% fascist support and enough stability to not have a civil war. I'll be fair, most of the time this is fine and not much of a problem, but if you're not paying attention to it, it can be incredibly annoying. Then, of course, there's the join the Axis tree, which is pretty much pointless. But I'm not going to be too harsh on it. It has to exist, I understand, so fine, whatever. But what I can't overlook are focuses like recover the East Indies and recover Brazil. And you know what they do? They only give you claims. I've said this before, but I should say it again. Claims are alright, but if you have claims as the main reward of a focus tree, it's not that good. Alright, there are better bonuses to give. This path also struggles with having a unique identity. It doesn't have that many focuses unique to itself. Like expanding the Chinese territories, okay, that's kind of unique, but then there's deal with the Japanese threat. Like almost every Portuguese path has a way to get a war goal on Japan, so not very unique, is it? And that brings us on to my biggest problem with this whole path, and that's when you do the Fifth Empire, you are no longer allowed to join factions. Just like Canada's new communist tree, I don't like this. In my opinion, it's needlessly limiting. Factions are fun to play around with, so why Paradox felt the need to add this is beyond me. I said in What's the Point of the Fifth Portuguese Empire that it was meant to be a make your own adventure kind of deal, but I was thinking about that, and almost everything in Hearts of Iron 4 is a make your own adventure sort of thing, so that's nothing unique to the Fifth Empire. So, I hear you asking, why, Bubbles, after all of this, is the Fifth Empire at number 3? And it's quite simple. The Fifth Empire is here solely because it's a fascist path. Being fascist in Hoi 4 allows you to go up to extensive, do war economy, and justify at any tension. Yep, it's nothing to do with the actual path itself. The Fifth Empire is at number 3 solely by virtue of its ideology. I'll let you determine whether or not that's a good or a bad thing. I'd say it's somewhere in the middle. Number 2. The United Kingdom of Portugal and Brazil. I don't need to beat around the bush on this one. This focus tree is solid. You can unite with Brazil pretty easily by like mid-1937. And by doing that, you basically become a major. Then of course, there's the Kingdom Reunited's pretty good national spirit, the Portuguese Empire. It gives unlimited manpower, extra political power, and 20% extra war support. Just like the Fifth Empire, it's not unlimited anymore, but again, also very nice. I'm sure some of you will have seen this next part coming. This is the part where we go over the monarchist path's downsides. For one, it's very, very short. Like I said, the primary part of the focus tree is done by mid-1937. Then you don't actually have that much to do from the focus tree itself. You can get some war goals via dealing with fascism, which is actually pretty good, considering it's a non-aligned path and you can't justify war goals until 50% world tension. Especially if Nationalist Spain is fascist, you will get another free puppet there. However, that is a case-by-case basis. Sometimes Nationalist Spain is fascist and you'll get the war goal. Sometimes they're non-aligned and you won't. Then of course there's the claims and the communist threat. I've already talked about them, you know my opinion. But there is one big problem that is unique to the monarchist tree, and that's the support Carlist Spain part of the tree. This tree is a problem because it relies on something that is out of the player's control, and that's the Carlist rising up. I've never seen the Carlist rise up on historical, so this part of the focus tree is pretty much only useful in ahistorical. And when you play ahistorical, you open up a whole can of worms of inconsistency, because maybe the Carlists rise up, maybe they don't. Maybe the Carlists survive long enough for you to do the focus, maybe they don't. And remember, all of the focuses down to the Royal Iberian Alliance are 70 days. It will take you 210 days to be able to join the Carlist fight. What that means is, you basically have to support a Spanish monarchy in the war, and hope that your volunteers are enough to help the Carlists win. Otherwise, you'll basically be spending almost a year of in-game time on focuses that might not help you in the end. But again, take away all of that, this path is pretty much fine. You can become strong fairly quickly, and it's alright. It's no wonder most people choose this to do Macau My Day. It does put you in the position to do that achievement fairly easily. I hope this next part doesn't come as a shock to any of you, because it's now time for number 1. Support the Spanish Republic. Just like the democratic path, I am very, very biased towards this path in particular. Workers of Iberia Unite, in my opinion, is a fairly underrated, fun, but somewhat hard challenge, because there is quite a lot you have to think about. For one, you have to manage your volunteers, not to mention looking out for when Republican Spain does offensives. If you aren't looking for offensives, you might be attacking into a state that still has the unplanned state modifier, and you won't be going anywhere. Secondly, you have to stabilise Republican Spain's line. Thirdly, you have the choice on whether or not the Carlists rise up. If you can ensure the Carlist uprising, that will help you, but you have to make sure Republican Spain is in the position to take advantage of it. 4. You have to choose the right moment to do Workers of Iberia Unite. Do it too soon and Nationalist Spain will roll over you. Do it too late and you can't take advantage of the Civil War. Can't get extra traits, can't get extra XP, can't get extra doctrines, and so on. There's a lot to think about. The only thing that even comes close to that in the Portuguese focus tree is the monarchist tree. But to me, all the stuff you have to think about is fairly easy and fairly enjoyable. From there's the Nation in Arms portion of the tree. Unify leftist youth wings gives more political power and cheaper advisors. Solid. Nationalise industry. Oh, look at that. 5 civs. That's good, great, awesome. All the superlatives you can think of. Yes, there is the cost of minus 20% stability, but oh well. Stability is a lot like aggressive expansion in EU4. It's just a number. So, what's the catch? What's the downside? Well, there are some, so let's get them out of the way. The one that probably annoys me the most is the fact that Spain can actually turn down the Iberian Socialist Union. You might have never seen this happen, but I have. When I was getting footage for this, it happened to me. And to be honest, I really thought the game had glitched out, because nothing in the game actually told me this had happened. Now, to be fair, it was fairly easy to conquer Republican Spain and get all those cores for myself. But still, the fact that that can happen is excruciating. Now, this next part is probably going to be a little bit contentious, but let me explain. To most people, joining the Comintern and visiting the front are pointless paths that most people don't do, but to me, they're an underrated asset. Why is that? Simple. The Portuguese focus tree on the whole does kind of have a problem with replayability. Once you've done one path, there isn't much motivation, personally, to play them again. But in the communist tree, there are multiple games you can have. You can decide to visit the front and then help Republican Spain directly. Maybe you want to do the Popular Front block and try and expand that faction in South America, even though that's kind of hard. Or maybe you want to join Stalin's Wild Ride. The choices are yours. And I like the fact that it gives you multiple choices and multiple runs you can have. And that is the main reason why this path is above the monarchist path. I'm sure some people will argue that the monarchist path is stronger, but in my opinion, the communist tree is pretty much just as powerful, and in many ways, just as enjoyable. Although some of that is definitely due to the fact it involves the Spanish Civil War. I do really like that. And that is that. All of the paths have now been ranked. Now, before we finish up, there is one little thing I need to say. I said a few times that most of these paths are pretty small, and I still think that they are. But you need to remember that these paths are meant to be played alongside the military, industry, and colonial trees. All of these in conjunction make the Portuguese tree what it is, a fairly large and good focus tree. But I'm only ranking the paths individually on their own, not the path in conjunction with the rest of the focus tree. You get what I mean? I just need to keep it simple. So, until next time everybody, I thank you for watching, do hope you've enjoyed it, and until we meet again, from me, Bubbles Zest, goodbye.